A pointless war for power, two nations fighting just to make the rich even richer. As a 27-year-old man, I enlisted to serve my country, like many others, leaving behind my family and my beloved wife. When I was hit by an enemy airstrike, my life flashed before my eyes, filled with nothing but regrets. If I had a second chance, I would never join the army. I would stay with my loving wife, raise a family, and live a peaceful life on a countryside farm. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital. Somehow I had survived the attack with only minor injuries. I took it as a sign, a second chance at life. I was given a month-long break to reconnect with my wife and family before I had to return to duty. My wife was furious. She kept begging me to leave the army. But it wasn't that simple. Only the old, the injured, women, and children were exempt from service. I was already enlisted, and there was no way out. If I refused to return, I would be branded a traitor and face severe consequences. A couple of days later, she came up with the idea to disguise me as a woman. Her brother had died in this war, and she believed I could pretend to be his widow and stay hidden until the war was over. I didn't like the idea at all, but after seeing my life flash before my eyes, I wasn't the same proud soldier anymore. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to survive. After a lot of convincing, I gave in. The next day, my transformation began. Her eyes lit up with determination as she led me to the bathroom and started shaving off my body hair. I felt humiliated, but I let it happen. She worked with precision, her hands steady as she stripped away every trace of my former self. The coarse hair that once marked my body as a soldier, a man, swirled down the drain. I stood there, feeling the warm water wash over my newly smooth skin. She walked to her cupboard and took out a blonde wig, flashing me a sly, mischievous smile. I felt a chill of intimidation run through me. She carefully glued the wig on my head, then gently combed and styled it with precision. My cheeks burned with embarrassment, and I couldn't even bring myself to look in the mirror. Next, she took out her makeup kit and carefully started applying it to my face. After about an hour, she was finally done, but wouldn't let me see the mirror until I put on her dress. She helped me slip into her yellow dress, adjusting it to fit me just right. Then, I finally looked at myself in the mirror. Every trace of a soldier was gone. I was staring at the reflection of a soft, dainty woman. A week had passed since I last wore my male clothes. Every day, I kept putting on her gown, wig, and makeup, making sure I looked like a woman when the guards showed up in a month. Then, it was time for the next step, lingerie. I couldn't believe she wanted me to wear her lingerie under the gown. When I first put on the pink lingerie, I froze, unable to process what was happening. My wife just smiled, but I could tell she was looking at me differently. As each day went by, she started treating me differently. She used to call me Charlie, and always showed me the respect a soldier deserves. But now she called me baby, darling, and cutie. She would pat me on the butt and tease me like I was a helpless damsel in distress. It made me feel so emasculated that I couldn't even look my wife in the eyes anymore. I tried to take a break from everything and decided to be intimate with my wife in a more traditional way. To my surprise, all my clothes were gone and replaced with women's clothes and lacy lingerie. My wife explained that we had to be careful because someone would be visiting soon. I expressed my desire to be intimate as a man, but she just smiled and gave me a black lace lingerie to put on. She promised me a night to remember. That night, she took charge and we were intimate with her on top of me. She was passionate and assertive, calling me Cece, a new name she discovered for me. I couldn't resist her and felt overwhelmed by her confidence. After a wild night, she woke me up with a playful tap on the butt, and we continued with our daily routine, further emphasizing my femininity. The next morning, during our usual makeup and dress-up session, I brought up what happened last night. But she just brushed it off, saying it was just for fun. She told me there was nothing wrong with being on the receiving end, that she had done it for years and now it was my turn to be the one relaxing. As my holiday was coming to an end, the officers could arrive at any time looking for Charlie. The dreaded day finally came, and an officer came to the house asking about my whereabouts. My wife introduced me as her late brother Damien's widow, Cece, and told the officer that Charlie never returned back from war. The officer was suspicious and questioned me further. I stuck to the script in my new high-pitched voice, saying I had married Damien just before he went to war and passed away. He asked for my identification, which my wife somehow managed to provide a marriage certificate with my fake ID. My verification was finally over, and we were relieved that this nightmare was behind us. I couldn't believe I had actually managed to fool an officer. In a week, these old officers who know I am not injured would return to the war, and Charlie could come back, pretending to be a cripple in front of the new officers, ensuring he would never have to fight again. Just one more week of this nonsense, and then I can be a man again. My wife used the justification that we should be more careful in our final days to further emasculate me because it was the last week. She treated me like her girlfriend, gave me various different hairstyles and look during the week. I was watching TV in the afternoon when an emergency broadcast suddenly interrupted the program. The words "War is over" flashed across the screen in bold letters, and I could hear cheers erupting from the neighborhood. But while everyone else celebrated, I just sat there, frozen in shock. I had gone through all of this for nothing. I had been counting on the officers leaving for war so I could return as Charlie, but now there was no war, and they weren't going anywhere. Even the soldiers who had already been sent to battle had returned. I had no idea what to do. I kept up the act as Cece for a few more days, hoping for a way out, until the officers dropped another bombshell. They handed my wife a death certificate for Charlie. According to the army, he was never found on the battlefield and was presumed dead. That news hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized I had no identity anymore. Officially, I didn't exist. I attended my own funeral as Cece, while everyone honored Charlie as a hero. I greeted the guests, former friends and comrades, who had no idea who I really was. They treated me like a proper lady, kissing my hand and holding doors open for me. The only name on record for me was Cece, a widowed woman. My wife, on the other hand, just laughed at the absurdity of it all. She told me to be patient, that things would settle down, and I'd be able to reclaim my old life. Or if needed, we could move to a different town and start over. But until then, I had no choice. For now, I was stuck as Cece. I was completely helpless as my wife took full control of my life, determined to make me as feminine as possible. I couldn't even look at the framed picture of myself on the wall, once a decorated soldier, now prancing around in my wife's lingerie. These are the first few pages of my brand new series, Identity Crisis, which has over 50 pages of animation and a detailed storyline. If you enjoyed this video and would like to follow Cece's journey, please consider supporting me on Patreon for over 400 series, captions, and videos.